Australia. It's the land of the wattle, the golden country, and is home to over 1,208 different species of wattle that belong to the genus Acacia. Almost all of these species, about 98 to 99%, are endemic, meaning they only occur in Australia. So in the lead up to Australia's federation, the patriotic search for national identity meant so too did Australia need national symbols. Wattle, of course, had great appeal as our national floral emblem, and while others prefer the Waratara, one reason it was more exclusive to Australia, it still meant that in 1912, our golden wattles were incorporated into the new coat of arms. It quickly became Australia's floral emblem after a proclamation was signed by the Governor-General in power at the time, Sir Nyan Stephen, and the green and gold of the wattle came to represent Australia, both nationally and overseas. It has even come to be seen as a representation of Australian identity. Take Australia's Olympians, for example. Typically, they have always worn green and gold, as do the national cricket, soccer, union and league teams, and others likewise. It has also, wattle and wattle seed in particular, been an enormous role in the Australian native food industry. Although not all acacias are suitable for human consumption, they have been a cornerstone in Indigenous Australian diets for thousands of years, and in recent years, wattle have had countless possibilities in the culinary world. Wattle seed grounds are used for their rich, roasted, toasty flavours in pancake batter, desserts, mousse, creme brulee and anglaise, as well as baked products like muffins, shortbread, and wattle seeds in particular can even be ground up to serve as flour. This is why we as Australians, since 1912, have celebrated National Wattle Day on the 1st of September. Wearing sprigs of green and gold, for some, wattle is as much a part of Australian identity as anything else. And the Wattle Day League, now the Wattle Day Association, have been sharing the wattle's natural beauty ever since the group's foundation. Here with me today to shed light on what makes Australia the golden country is wattle enthusiast and expert, Vice President and Communication Manager of the Wattle Day Association, Dr. Suzette Searle. What is wattle?
Well, here in Australia, wattle actually means fluffy yellow ball, as far as most Australians are concerned. For those of us who are getting a little bit older, we might think it's something that hangs below our chin. But no. Wattle is actually a huge group of plants. They go from little things that crawl along the ground, prostrate plants, to huge, great big forest monarchs that are 30 metres tall. This incredibly diverse group found only in Australia.
Now, wattles are actually acacia, but why do we call them wattle?
It's a funny word, wattle, but it actually relates to the fact that when the first settlers came to New South Wales, they used to make themselves very simple shelters out of weaving flexible twigs together. And they used to use both wattle, they used to use acacias, and they used to use something else called calicoma, and they would wattle them together. It was actually a building technique called wattle and daub. So they would weave the flexible saplings through each other, and then they would throw mud onto the top. So it was called wattle because it was used to actually make wattle and daub buildings.
Not all wattles are yellow, is this correct?
That's right, actually. We have an amazing red wattle called Scarlet Blaze, that's Acacia leprosa, which was found in Victoria. And in fact, that one is now commercially available. We also have some pale purple ones, a really strong orange one. Most of them are shades of yellow. You get them from the palest of lemon yellow to strong, bold yellow. And there are white ones as well. So, yes, not all wattles are yellow, but generally they are.
Now, what actually is a wattle blossom?
Well, whether it be a round ball or a long rod-shaped thing, a wattle blossom is actually a number of different flowers. They're so small that people don't actually realise that, for example, the Acacia pycnantha, the golden wattle, which is our national floral emblem, that can have 75 little flowers just packed into the one great big ball. So a wattle blossom is actually a collection of flowers.
And what surprises people about wattle blossom?
Well, I think that a lot of people think that wattle blossoms actually cause hay fever. They see the wattle blossom in spectacular flower and they've got all the symptoms of hay fever. They see the wattle, they've got the symptoms, and they, I guess, naturally put two and two together. But they couldn't be more wrong, because in fact the pollen that you find on the wattle, no matter what species it is in fact very large, and it has evolved to be carried from bush to plant to tree by birds and by insects such as bees. It's just so heavy, it doesn't fly in the air. It has to be actually physically carried. And in fact, if you look underneath wattle bushes and shrubs on a quiet day, you'll see where the wattle has just dropped to the ground. It doesn't cause hay fever.
And what pollen is actually causing these hay fever symptoms?
Well, there are a variety of pollens that are floating around in the air. They have to be light enough to float in the air to get up your nose and down into your throat and into your mucous membranes. The biggest culprits is in fact ryegrass. And there are also a lot of very fine pollens from introduced tree species from Europe. Other thing that people confuse is they often see, say around here in Canberra, they'll see yellow pollen on their windscreens and on the footpaths, and when it rains it all gathers in little rivulets. They think, oh, that's wattle blossom because it's yellow. No, it's actually from pine trees. It's the pollen you can't see. Yes, blossoms produce pollen. No, they don't cause hay fever. But in fact, the wattle blossoms don't produce any nectar. So when the bees are going to the wattle blossoms, it's for the pollen. And especially at this time of year, the middle of winter, these flowering wattles that you see around the place are very important sources of pollen for the bees to take back to their hives. This is protein-rich food for them. They mix it with a bit of their saliva, a little bit of nectar, which is what they collect from other types of flowering trees. Then they make something called bee bread. Then they let it ferment, and it is fed to the larvae of the bee colony. So in fact, wattles are an extremely important source of pollen.
What are your thoughts on wattle's representation in the new banknotes?
Oh, I think it's absolutely marvellous. For the first time, we are going to have wattles featured on every one of our 5 new generation banknotes. At the moment, we actually have 2 that you'll find in your pocket or your purse, and a third one is coming out in October this year, and then there'll be 2 more. We don't know what wattles they will be. But at the moment we know that there's Acacia verticillata. That was the first one, which is found in Victoria. The second one is called Acacia victoriae, and is actually the one they use in the bush food industry, and that's on your $10 note.
There are some who would like to see wattle included in the Australian flag. Your thoughts?
Well, of course, I love wattle being used as a symbol of Australia in all sorts of things, but as for the flag, all these symbols are really controversial because not everybody agrees as what is suitable. I'd like to see it, but I don't assume that it's going to be the one symbol that all Australians want to see on the flag. You know, there's Southern Cross, for example, there's the kangaroo, boomerang. We've got all sorts of wonderful symbols of Australia. So whether or not the wattle blossom would get a Guernsey, I don't know.
The Governor-General tends to play a large role in Wattle Day celebrations. To what extent and why does this occur?
Governor-Generals in Australia have had an important role, in fact, since the First World War, since at least 1917, because they are representatives of the Queen in this country, and they have been part of a number of formal ceremonies to mark Wattle Day and also the service of Australians in war overseas. Today, though, Governors-General have been involved in a presentation of a basket of wattle by all the school children of Australia as a way of marking National Wattle Day, which is the 1st of September every year.
How can we celebrate Wattle Day?
Well, there are so many ways, and of course there's no particular one way. The simplest thing would be to actually wear a sprig of wattle and and say Happy Wattle Day to each other. I think it's a great day to actually be with your friends and family and do something like a barbecue or a picnic. Go for a wattle walk around your street, seeing which are the best wattles in flower. We've got the Arboretum, but we've got the Botanic Gardens as well here in Canberra. Go there and see what the wattles look like. Sometimes around Australia there are festivals. People gather together and dance, say down at Hurstbridge in Melbourne. They have folk dances and they celebrate all things Australian. It's just a great day to celebrate Australia and being Australian, and you can do it however you like. I think that wearing a sprig of wattle and saying Happy Wattle Day, these are ways that you can celebrate Wattle Day.
Now, do you have any final words?
I guess I'd be letting down my association if I didn't encourage you all to actually join us. It only costs $15 forever to become a member of the Wattle Day Association, and that's just simply about supporting the celebration of National Wattle Day on the 1st of September, and also raising awareness that golden wattle, a particular species called Acacia pycnantha, is our national floral emblem. You can find us on the web. We have a website. If you look up Wattle Day Association, and we have a little section about join us if you want to. Also, I've got quite a popular Facebook page going. Again, Wattle Day Association, where I post all sorts of interesting things about wattle. I think you'll find a lot of people don't know, but anyway, it's popular. A lot of people want to know. Yeah, join us.